Anyone who's watching this, if you watch my page, I have absolutely zero doubts you will have seen this man. Liam, give us a bicep flex. Give us a bicep flex. Because they would have just seen that. Yes. So anyone watching this, Liam, and they're not sure who you are, A, I don't know how, but B, how would you describe yourself, dude? How would you describe Liam? Literally, the man, the myth, the legend. Describe yourself.
I'd say, to briefly describe myself, is a positive doer now. So just literally anything, I'll do it. You know, running ultra busy individual, running 2 jobs, family life, all sorts like that.
You are to define busy, right? Let's just actually lay that out, because a lot of blokes they'll be like, "Oh, I'm too busy," and really it's just they're too busy on things that aren't actually helping, right? But you run your own business. You've got a family business, you've got a partner, you've got a normal social life, and you've got obviously a book that you're writing as well. So, how many hours at the moment a week do you reckon are like full, like really, really busy, dude?
If you narrow it down for the last couple of months, the day job alone is probably 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
And then you've got probably a good 20 or more on top of that with the extra stuff as well. So probably looking 60 to 80 hour weeks.
Yeah. And we're still training.
And I'm still getting training in, eating healthy and feeling all right mentally.
Right, so that's it. We can go now. That's from the off. That's like insane itself. But looking at that, mate, like, we haven't always been like this. We haven't always been this go-getting, this, really confident bloke, being able to like put yourself out on social media, which has been insane to see. Even like you said, grabbing life by the balls, writing a book. Like, you came to me in October 2020, which is insane. Like, you've been in the program now over, almost over a year and a half, which is absolutely insane. And back then, Liam, like, what was the reality for you? Sort of 2019, 2020, I think even slightly a little bit before that, there was a lot of things that had kind of gone on with the military, with all sorts of different things. What was the reality for your self-confidence and just you back then, Liam, mate? What was the reality?
It was always self-doubting, always wanting to please other people, but never thinking I could, sort of thing. In all aspects, that'd be whether I was training, the day job, even if I'd done something right, I'd still pick it apart and was very negatively minded on stuff. Yeah. So I doubted if I was good enough for my relationship. Was probably putting too much pressure on myself with that kind of mindset, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of pressure, but I was just picking all the negatives out all the time. The only time anything would feel good would be sort of if I had time off to decompress. If that made sense.
Yeah, I remember that was the biggest thing, wasn't it? It was a lot of other outside influence that you was kind of, you just never felt like you were doing anything right. I remember that was the biggest question we kind of went through, is it was like, why do you feel like this? And it was, I just always try and please others and I never do anything for me. I remember that was the biggest thing, wasn't it? It was never anything for Liam. And then that would kind of lead to this spiral of always, like you say, like kind of pleasing others. And do you remember where your confidence was? This is going to surprise a lot of people from what they've seen of you and where you are now. But do you remember where your confidence was when you first?
Yeah, I think it was around sort of like a 3/4 on a good day. I'm sure it was within myself anyway. And as much as I'd have that confident persona, if you was to actually ask me like when you did, it was around a 3/4.
I think that's sitting around there. That's a huge thing in a lot of men, Liam. I think a lot of guys, we disguise self-confidence or with almost this like brash attitude, or like that's quite a big thing, isn't it? But I think like the reality for you is, like you said, like like sort of a 3 of confidence. And when your confidence is quite low, mate, like how was that affecting your relationship and your work life? Like what was that leading to in those sort of circumstances? Like why was this a negative? If that makes sense.
Relationship wise, it wasn't necessarily that. It's just because we don't have a normal relationship. I have a mother-in-law who's incredibly ill. Yeah. So at the time, from early on, we've been playing carer roles, like mum and dad roles to my fiance's little sister. Obviously, we've got our own place now, so we've got our own sort of escape place. Yeah. And they're getting more independent. But at the time, I think it was always like, oh, what if I do this wrong and something drastic happens? So then that became that point. I'd try and take responsibility of the missus. And again, the way I was coming about it, I'd be quite snappy with it, because obviously I didn't trust myself, and obviously didn't feel like I could do it properly. So obviously I tried to help, probably was doing it wrong, needed to be guided, but then because I was trying to juggle all this mess of pressure of it, thinking of it negatively and worrying about getting it wrong, I was then snapping. as well, making it worse. And then the same with work. I was just like, I do something wrong, really beat myself up about it, then sort of get reprimanded on it in a way.
Yeah.
But I react negatively to that as well. So everything just became like the wrong emotions for the right scenarios, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
So a logical approach would just be literally an impulse of emotion, and just towards something.
I remember you saying to me, actually, that was the big thing, wasn't it? It was always emotional very quickly. So it was like, you know, you'd get something wrong, or you'd make a mistake, or you'd then lose self-confidence because, you know, I always say to you guys, you know, like, confidence is your ability to rely on something, or in this term, someone. So your confidence to rely on yourself internally wasn't there, was it? We didn't really have that. And I remember that being a huge thing. It's because, you know, a lot of lads will relate to that fact. And I used to deal with that actually quite often as well. And I've talked to you about it quite a lot of times, is that, you know, you sometimes when you have others put you down at a young age, or you're bullied at school, or I'm not saying you were, Liam, but I know I was, and you've got all these things, it kind of it puts this voice in your own head, doesn't it? Which is your own voice. It's your own voice, but it puts this voice in your own head that's saying you can't do that, or you're not good enough for that, or I don't think you'll do that right. And it's this internal kind of mindset that we kind of have to battle against, but it's you know, trying to change that really. And I remember, mate, it was such good, like we had loads of conversations. You were really buzzing from the start, and I remember that being really good. And kind of, obviously, I think you'd seen me through either the Battle Ready 360 or Ollie's page or the Advent. I think it was the Advent that you did, and then you sort of see me through that. And we had a bit of a conversation about all sorts of things and loads of different stuff, and kind of then we jumped on the phone and really talked through this. And I remember it was, you were just, yeah, look, I'm in. Like, just let me know when you're in. And I remember it's kind of, I think we had a couple of troubles at the start, and then you went away, we like rang a couple of people, got it sorted, and then we're just like, look, I'm fucking doing this. I remember that being brilliant. And
I remember it being the bank's fault. It was all the bank's fault.
Yeah,
like, no. Yeah. You spend your money. I think that's all it was. But,
and then you just rang them up, and you were like, I'm at this happening. And when that sort of initial process, like, I always talk about kicking down that door, Liam, don't I? You kick down the door, you were like, look, we're going in, we're doing this. What was your first initial thought in that sort of, let's cover the first 90 days and then we'll cover the year? Because obviously you've done the whole of 2021, which has been unreal. And there's so many fucking things in my head, and also on the notes that I've got that you've done. But let's cover those first 90 days. October to December last year, what was the reality for your self-confidence, your body, everything, you know, getting back into training? How did that all go for you, dude?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit sort of like a little surreal transformation, if that makes sense. So I was so happy to realise that, obviously, one, I needed the help, and to have those tools available, and someone was willing to say that, do it at your own pace. It was like, right, I'm going to go into this, and just even like week to week, seeing little bits of progress, whether that was in just my body, you know, noticing it, the mindset, the way I was then starting to plan towards goals, achieving little bits towards them. It was like week to week for me. It was just like another little boost. It's like completing a video game. So I've done that level. I'm excited to go to the next level. So true. Excited to go to the next level. Saving it at each point as well, so I don't forget where I've come. Yeah. Sort of that process as well. So it was really good to just feel everything building up. And even when there was a problem, it's like, right, how can I positively attack this, as opposed to before negatively sitting there and going, well, you shit. What did you expect? Yeah. Now it's, you know, is then switch to that, right, okay, you made a mistake, let's fix it, which is obviously what I've carried now, as opposed to sitting there, like you say, like most blokes do, or people with that low self-confidence, you do something wrong, you beat yourself up, someone else beats you up about it, and then you go, yeah, no, you're all right, I am shit at all of this. Yeah. So it's flipping that mindset. And like you say, we try and rewire that head, don't we? We try and rewire that head into, like, we're not useless, we're not pointless, we're not you know, the worst person in the world, and we shouldn't beat ourselves up about things, because we're happy, we can make mistakes. You're not fucking, you know, you've got blood inside, you're not robots, you know, like it's not that case. And I think that there's so many different things that you've done, you know, with the education, the support, the accountability, the community. And how have you found those in the first 90 days? How did you find them? And then in a minute, I'm going to talk about everything over the last year, because I think there's two different levels. Like I feel, I don't know if you agree,
I hope you regret, actually, Liam. I'm sure you will. But like 2020, we were good at this. I feel like 2021, I would almost say we're pushing towards being one of the best coaching programs in the world. But I think there's a few things I want to. Yeah, a few things I'm always going to put myself down because I'm like that. But I think there's a few things I need to edit, and then it will be this. This is that. There's no way anyone can beat this, really. But anyway, on that note, when you first came to us, like, how did you find the actual program, mate? How did you find all the stuff we do?
No, I think in a way I was quite surprised. I came in optimistic, but I was sort of a little bit held in because I was sort of like, well, you know, I had that trust in you. Because again, you were like, well, if you want to be this, I can help you be that. So, okay, because I never really got that. A lot of it was trying to be a coach. A lot of people say that's a waste of time. Loads of people doing it. You won't have your niche in it. You just keep doing your carpet fitting because that's the best job in the world.
Yeah.
And obviously, I was trying to rebel against it. But then I had the backing up of you, the lads.
Yeah.
And obviously, everything I was learning, I was trying to absorb like a sponge. And obviously, I was learning properly as well, which I think helped.
Yeah.
So then that sort of made me put up this fight to say, no, I want to do both for now.
Yeah.
I'm going to do both so I can please both worlds. And eventually, I will do what I want to do.
Yeah.
So then, put away, just starting to go in that direction. It was nice to see those process steps happening. Like I say, the education, I was learning all the stuff maybe I hadn't learned before. I think I even said to you, the way I can learn in this way is better for me than sitting there reading this, reading that. Just sitting there watching you do a lecture, I was absorbing more, taking notes. It was more of a practical way of learning. I probably learned more than I would have done had I gone to college and gone through those steps, you know, reading through books.
Because the main aim for you and anyone who's watching this, the main aim is to have gained enough confidence to basically start your own business, to transition fully into becoming a personal trainer. And there's so many things that, not to blow my own trumpet, but well, to be fair, actually, I will blow my coach's trumpets. That's what I'll do instead. So obviously, anyone who doesn't know, like Phil Graham, he's like the best business mentor in the world for fitness professionals. He's my coach. And what I've tried to do is, I've not, ripped what Phil does. I've not given you any of his content. But what I've done is given you little tips that I know when I was first starting would help you. And that's obviously been massive because there's loads of stuff you do that I know other personal trainers in your standard wouldn't. And what's been cool actually as well, mate, and it's really good, is that there's a lot of lads, aren't there, in the group, like yourself, Ryan, Dan, all sorts of lads who want to go into different jobs. Stephen now recently, they want to go into more care role jobs. And obviously that, you guys are all in the industry of wanting to help others. So it's nice that you all have connected to sort of give each other ideas, give each other, how to run a business, how to do this, how to do that, like how to get clients results, which has been really good. And that's obviously massive for me because it's proven that, when you can teach something, it means that you've got confidence in it. And that's obviously massive. And I think that's a big thing. It's that we weren't just teaching you, a couple of, shitty lectures. It was, I remember the first lecture you did, I think Becca went into behavior change, and obviously she's she's just doing a master's now in behavior change and the psychology of sport. So, sports psychology. So I think that was, you were like, fucking hell, this is a very different level. I remember that being like so potent, which was great. And then we obviously had Christmas, and then we went into the new year, and we hit January fucking hard. I know it was mad for me. I was like, all these guys have joined. It's like we've really got like a good process, and we've sort of really just kept adding things into it. And I remember you started doing your classes in January for the lads, which was great. We did obviously so many different things, and let's cover this in a few stages because there's a lot like we're going to cover. But the first half of the year, right? So 2021. The plan, education, accountability, community support, and being inside the Warriors. How much has that first half of the year changed your life? And then we're going to go on the back end of the year, and then we'll talk about what we did on Wednesday. But being part of like the Battle 360 team, being part of like those type of people, having like Katie Parrott, Chris, all the guys that we've had come in over that first 6 months. How did you find all of that, Liam? As just taking your confidence from starting to go up to the next level. How have you found all of it, mate?
I think it was seeing what we were sort of all getting involved in. The way it's expanded, like I say, like big entities coming in. So we're all sort of part of this. We can all be involved. Yeah. So that gives you a natural boost anyway. Because you've been, little old me is technically involved in a way.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no,
that's obviously.
You are the bread and butter of this. You make this happen. Yeah, but like, sorry, go on. Yeah.
And obviously supporting the lads. I think, I don't know if you remember, in January, obviously we had quite a dark spell family wise.
Yeah.
For the January period. And obviously I was isolating a lot. Luckily none of us got it. But obviously it was a dark spell. And again, I think the old me, as you said, would have crumbled like mad there. I think I did come to you and we had a little call just to reboost. But again, all the lads were there. You just literally didn't have to give them enough detail, but it was enough for them to be like all swarming in just to help stop you falling into a little hole, which got me through that dark period as well. And then obviously I just kept going more and more positive from there. So, you know, the start of the year was what should have been negative actually was then turned to a massive positive, and I think that was obviously due to everyone that was in and around me.
You mind if we touch upon that tiny in a small detail? I'm not going to go into it deeply, just so then you kind of give a context. So there was a few things personally that basically didn't go the way they wanted to, did they? Whether that was, I won't go into it, unless you want to go into it. It's different things that we just had to deal with, which I'm sure the lads can kind of, anyone watching this can kind of understand. But I think the biggest thing there, like you said, is that what I find very often with that will happen, especially if it's at the start of a year, is lads will have say like something goes wrong with a house, or something goes wrong with a family member, or something goes wrong with anything. I'm just generically saying that. Well, then what that happens is that lads can start to go downhill. And like you said, it was quite nice because instantly it was like, right, Liam, let's get on the phone. I remember there were so many different things. We were like, right, write this down, talk through this, talk me through this. Right, what can we do? Okay, we can do that. What's not in our control and what we can't do? Right, we'll fuck that off because there's no point. I remember it was so like, I remember being like, boom, boom, boom. And then you were like, right, okay, fucking hell. All right. And then it was like, right, Liam, let's, you know, work towards that. And obviously like you said, it was turning that negative energy and using it for a positive, which obviously she talked about really heavily the other day. And that's something I'm a real advocate of is finding that element of, right, where can I work out what's going to happen with this? And like you said, what was brilliant is that it was straight on the phone and it was solved within a couple of days, because it was like, right, let's move into the next element. And I think a huge thing that I'm massive with, and you can obviously, you know, sort of highlight this, is that I don't want any of my lads to be stuck more than 24 hours, because it's not a problem. If it's a problem and you let it go on for more than a day, and I've said this so many times, haven't I? I've said this in a few of these, is that in my head, it's going to become a lot bigger. You know, if you let that 24-hour problem turn into a week, a month, a year is a lot, and damage could be heavily done. Whereas if we've solved it within 24 hours, it's fucking done. And when we say solve, it doesn't mean it's instantly, you know, I've not just gone, oh, I'll just wave a magic wand, Liam, and every problem that you've had with everything it'd be done. It's kind of in a mindset of what can we physically do to start that moving forward, and that was brilliant, I thought. But yeah, that's fantastic, Liam, and I thought that was brilliant. And like you said, when you've got the lads, the community is the biggest thing that I love for you, mate. When you've got that group of people around you, not just myself, how much does that inspire you? You know, what's that like? Like, what's it like being part of the crew, really?
Well, it's just good because obviously for a big group of lads as well, the banter is there. It's great because obviously you can go in there with a shitty day and say, lads, I've had a shit of a day, and then you might get a little bit of digs from people who oh, fucking, you know, suck it up, which then lifts you up because it makes you laugh, and then they're all like, well, what's happened? Process it out, and they're all like, oh yeah, I've had this. You get all these relatable people, which stops you thinking, oh, it's just me that's had a shit day, because we all can be like that. Get stuck in that, oh, it's just me and only me to have a shit day. Everyone else jumps in with that, helps get you out of it. You know, you get different aspects, and by the end of it, you've all actually felt good because it's like having a mini therapy session.
Yeah,
to a degree.
Little tiny bits like that is really, isn't it? Yeah. And obviously now having done like the mental health course myself, and Becca's doing hers as well, which is really good, and she's got a lot of other things that she's able to help you deal with, you know, the psychology side of it. I think what's been really good for us is that it's turned into something so much more than just fitness. Like, fitness is a huge aspect of what we do, but I think, like, for me, it's like, with the background of being in the Marines, that was something I've always been able to really help you guys with. It was more really focusing on, like, how can I make you healthier mentally as well as physically, and that's obviously massive. And like you said, it is almost like mini therapy, and we can do that. We can actually refer you guys out to counsellors now, which is fantastic because of what Dan's been able to do. So if I ever feel like the problem's something we can't deal with, then we just find internally we'll find people that can come and speak to it. I remember talking about that banter one. I remember obviously I posted a picture like I've lost one of my toenails from that denied event. I remember you were like, yeah, bang a plaster on it, suck it up. And I was like, yes, this is brilliant. This is fucking brilliant. But I think that's such a big part of it. And I actually had a chat with one of my mates the other day, and he trains professional athletes, and what we were sort of talking, and he sort of said, I think the biggest thing for you, mate, is you've built a proper community group of people, and what that means is that you've got people aren't alone. You know, that's huge, and I think that's the biggest thing from his perspective on the outside looking in. But looking at that, mate, so obviously we, looking at the whole year, we've now, just had. Well, in fact, I'll let you say what have we just done literally this week that's culminated this whole year, I would say, and kind of shown where we've gone really. So what was the highlight, would you say, of the last this week really for you, dude?
Well, we got the absolute honour to have a Q&A with Ollie Ollerton, and the stuff like that, you see other people doing, as you see other people doing it, and you've been on about this age, like, I will get him. And obviously we're all like behind you, back here, like, no, he will somehow, even if he gets in for 5 minutes, we'll get him on here somehow. And then the fact that he was like, quite a bit of time, so it was quite nice, and the way we were allowed to each ask him a question, and the way he answered everything in detail, he took the time as well, which obviously I was very grateful for. That's why when you come to me, I was like, one, I nearly had a tech issue, and then two, I was like, now I've nearly forgot my question because I was just listening away to what he was saying.
It's a bit nerve-wracking, like when you've seen someone on TV. I know you're an absolutely massive fan, like you love all the battle box stuff. I remember that was brilliant in the lockdowns and all those types of things, and as well, like that podcast, mate, I will be listening back on my own because there's so many different nuggets of gold that he was able to give you.
100%.
And like you say, mate, I've visualized that for at least 2 years, like where I've been like, I will find a way to get him on. Like, and I'll do all the work and I've done all the stuff for them. So it's, it's been huge. And having those types of people around you, mate, like how would you say, right, your confidence was a 3 when you first started this. I know what you're going to say already, right? But where's your confidence now, having all of that we've been able to help you with, Liam?
I'd say the confidence meters ran out of numbers. That's
I thought you were going to say, I think in the first 90 days it went up to a 10, and you were like, 10 out of 10. And then I don't even know how you judge that now, because it's like I've never seen you like in especially the last 6 months. There's never been a point where I've been like, Liam, are you all right? Like, how's things going with this? How's things going with that? And there's a negative. It's always fantastic. Like the man, right? Anyone watching this, the man's writing a book, and the stuff in it is just brilliant. Constantly coming to me with fantastic business ideas. He's constantly talking about, this client's been able to do this. I've just got a present from this client. It's just, there's always a positive out of Liam, which is brilliant. And genuinely, mate, it's fucking huge to see. But how would you sort of, there's someone out there, Liam, that's sat in your shoes. And I know a couple of your friends have even thought about joining this, but not, they've been a bit nervous to take action. And I completely get it, man. Like, A, you've got to invest in yourself, and that's just the nature of the beast. And B, and when I say invest in yourself, it's not just financially, it's the time and energy. And I get that if you feel like you don't have the time and you feel like you don't have the energy, it's going to be quite difficult to think you can get past that. But you are a huge advocate of a bloke who didn't have time, didn't have energy, maybe was a bit worried about the finances, but he still pushed through, kicked down the door and fucking walked in. What would you say to any bloke who's still on the other side of the door? He's nervous to do it and he's not sure about it. What would you sort of say to them, Liam, mate?
I'd say sort of visualize it this way, like I do the military aspect. Visualize it like you say when you've got your group about to kick that door down. You're stood there on your own, but then think about once you're in the program, you're going to have that little squeeze on your shoulder to say, go on. So you kick that door down, in you go, they're backing you up. So that's what you've got to look forward to. Not think of the in the moment, it's just me. Think of the in the future, it's not going to be just me. As soon as I go through that door, it's me plus all those others that have been in my shoes that can help me get to where they're at, if not further. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just literally kick the fucking door down. That's all I can say. Just don't hesitate, because the more you hesitate, the more you won't do something.
I think
just always have it.
I think the most dangerous place in any man's body, right, is his mind. Because I think what happens is it's a very lonely place, for one, because you are the only fucking one there. Ollie talked about this. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday night? This week's been mad. Or Thursday night, sorry. Thursday night, Was it last night? It was. Oh no, Saturday. Yeah, it was Thursday night. So he
I know. Yeah, I'm confused as well.
mate, this week has been insanely good. But like, so Thursday he was talking about the fact that he talks to himself all the time, doesn't he? He'll tell himself to shut up because like there's so many things that your head, we've got you've got time, Liam, haven't you? You've got time. What time do you have to be shut?
Yeah.
Your head is the loneliest place and the worst place to come up with ideas, because what your body and brain will do is tell you to stay in a comfortable position because it knows that it survived the previous days. So when you are presented with something that's a change, even if it's, it's the positive route and it's the way you should go and it's proven, you are going to have a level of resistance against that, because the reason being is that you have to think, I haven't done this before, so how do I know that's going to get me to survive? But the problem with that is it's death by 1,000 cuts. You might actually be doing something that's negatively not pushing you in the right direction that will eventually, to be really brutally honest, kill you in the future. If you're overweight, if you're actually underweight and your confidence is incredibly low, that could be really detrimental to your future, or really detrimental to your work, your relationships, all these things. But when you're presented with quite an aggressive change, it's actually going, this is too much to handle. And sometimes you have to push past those thoughts, don't you, Liam? And he talked about that, didn't he? He talked about, like, don't listen to that negative self-doubt. If it's something that you have to do, you have to push through that, discomfort. And I think a lot of people nowadays, they talk about discomfort and they talk about it as if it has to be you fucking pushing up the hills and pushing up these things. But at the end of the day, right, not every bloke is fucking going up, Kilimanjaro. Not every bloke is going up Everest, but every bloke is dealing with some form of discomfort on a daily basis. Some bloke, some form of something they have to push through, some form of self-doubt, low self-confidence. And you're a massive advocate for someone who's been able to kick that door down and go, look, I'm going to stop listening to those negative thoughts and move forward with that. And I know that that's been massive. And you genuinely, Liam, have been such an inspiration for me, because even every time I see you do a bicep flex, and it's always a bit of a laugh, and just watching you physically as well as mentally, and the guys don't see the mental side of it, but watching you physically put on a hell of a lot of weight, and with all the timings and everything you're doing, and just visually even look totally different, has been insane. But mate, that's been fantastic. And any of the guys who are kind of, say someone's saying, oh, I don't know about investing in myself, or I don't know about doing this, what would you touch upon that aspect, Liam? What would you say to them about that?
Sort of running back to one of Ollie's quotes, which is, you've got to work on yourself to be able to work on others. I use it with you. We say this all the time, don't we? In order to improve others, you must first improve yourself. So if you're thinking of the big picture, I want to help other people, but if you're not willing to invest in yourself, help yourself, you can't ask them to do the same. It's not going to work. Because obviously they need to look to you to follow in your footsteps. If you're not doing what you're asking them to do, you can't expect them to do it. So, like I say, well, even I was hesitant, because it was you saying you got to invest in you. And I was like, I've never done this. But in that way, which a lot of people don't, they'll do little things themselves, buy themselves something, but to actually invest whatever amount it is in yourself, it's then your time. I think when you say to people, take some time for yourself, a lot of people struggle, because time for themselves, like you say, is subconsciously, they don't realize they're doing it, sitting there flicking through Facebook for 3 hours in the evening. But if you said to them, you invest that time in yourself wisely, think what you can achieve, is getting them to, like you say, that scary jump of, okay, I've got to get outside the comfort zone to do that. But it's well worth the investment. As I've said, like you've said, look, what I've done in the past sort of year and a half, at the start, I wouldn't have thought I could do that. So I'm not saying everyone needs to go to the extremes, but even if it's a little bit within that time period or longer, it's still an achievement from where you were.
Some blokes,
so it's always worth
100%. Like some blokes, it'll be their first 5K, it'll be their first fucking 1 mile, it'll be their first like 10 press-ups. Like, it's not, we're not. I think sometimes people get a bit of a misconfusion that we're only suited to like lads who are going P company or lads who are joining the Marines. Like, no, that's not what we're about, and that fully well. Like, for me, it's about self-confidence, attitude part of everything is the biggest focus for me, because at the end of the fucking day, that's all that really matters. You can be the biggest, brashest, most shredded bloke in the world, the fucking best hill climber, the best whatever. If you have no self-confidence in yourself, there's going to be times where you come up against a challenge and that is fucking completely torn away, and it just won't matter. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, is to know internally. And Ant Middleton and the rest of the lads talk very heavily about this, don't they? And even Ollie did. It's what's it going on in here that really matters. But mate, that's fantastic. And looking at all of this, Liam, you know, we're going to go through your 2020 goals, 2022 goals in a minute. And I know we've got a lot of stuff that you are really in the headset of, which I'm fucking super excited about. But mate, looking at where you've come from, you know, confidence really, really low, looking at where your confidence is off the Ricker now, would you say that this program has changed your entire life, Liam?
Yeah, 100%. 100% it has. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm thinking of ideas for things that I wouldn't have thought about at all, but let alone the one main goal I had at that time. Do you think I've hit that, and now it's loads of others I want to get to?
Yeah. And would you say that this has painted out a really solid, positive future for you, where you sort of going?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Hence why I'm still within your program. I haven't got to that level. I'm going, cheers, Alex, I'm off.
Yeah.
I wanted to stay because I know I've got you to fall back on. Even if you say, "I know you don't necessarily need that," but it's, you know, that's why I don't want to leave that program, because it's because of being under your mentor and coaching that I've got as far as I've got to a degree, and obviously the support of the lads and everything. Because had I not took that step, I'd probably still be stuck at that brick wall. At the beginning. I
think for me as well, like I'm, so you know fully well, like we were talking about earlier, don't ask people to do what you wouldn't do yourself. Like obviously I've got, you know, I've just done Dan Hancock's course. That was fantastic. And that was a mental health, you know, sort of PT. There's a lot of stuff from there. That was obviously quite a big investment. Just done, I'm still in Phil's mentorship, because same as yourself, like there's so many different things that he helps me with, and not just the you know, the business side of things. It's the actual fulfillment side that I really enjoy, which is huge, what we're about to go into in next year, which is insane. What I've kind of like, I'm not going to go through it, because anyone watching this, you just join and you'll know what I mean. But there's so many different things. I'll send it to you, and we'll chat about it in a minute off camera. But like, there's so many different things that I've taken from what some world class coaches are doing in their programs. You know, people like, you know, Kurt Miller, people like fucking all the lads who are, you know, proper, like they're absolutely men's health athletes, and they're helping their clients become, you know, machines. And I'm taking that and putting it into mine, and I'm going, right, how do we work out with this? How do we make that happen? How do we make that happen? And it just puts you at, you know, in a new level. And like you say, I don't want to stop that either. I don't want to stop that going up. So yeah, it's massive, mate. It's massive. On that, Liam, just last little point, is there anything else you would sort of want to say to anyone who's looking in from the outside and thinking about joining this? Like, is there anything else you'd want to say to them?
Well, just sort of to go over them other points that we covered earlier. It's just, you're standing at that door thinking about what's on the other side. Well, you've got to open it to have a look, even if you just peek through. So yeah, but once you peek through, that's it. Getting your foot in the door is enough to get started. You don't have to necessarily do what I done and smash the door down, take the walls with it. I mean, you can even just stick your foot in and be there just for now until you're ready to fully come in. You know, they can sign up with you, and you know, because you don't put the pressure on to say, right, you need to do all of this by this point. It's like, right, this is what's here. This is what would be good. Take your time, get through it, settle in. You don't have to go flying in and by the end of your first 30 days be like, I've ran out of things to do.
Nah.
You know, like you say, you can get them to gradually come in, so then they can slowly build up, which again, with some people, it will help. If you're one of these people that, if you're low confidence, you don't want a 100-mile an hour because of the pressure, you can slowly come into it, so you can slowly build up, which again, yeah, it's still a progress. So yeah, you're never going to know unless you start trying.
100%. And looking at that, Liam, if any of the lads want to come and have a chat with you beforehand, because I always say that, you know, if you're going to join this, we are very heavily connected. Like, I don't think people realize that this is not just me and them. It's a big fucking team. If they want to come speak to you first and go, oh look, I'm thinking about joining the Warriors, but I don't know about this, I don't know about that. Like, what would you sort of say to them?
Say to them, look, just sort of, you know, watch back these things, see what the other lads have been up to, see where they were at the start. Maybe look through your page and see the early interviews, see the more recent ones, so you can see where people have started, where they've come to now. You know, it's not like you say, it's not scripted, it's not put on for show. Like, we've still been struggling and then written out a script to follow. It's all been legitimate progression. So all they've got to do is just speak to any one of us lads. Like you say, I'm more than happy to take, you know, chats with people and just tell them briefly where I was and where I'm at now, and the little process in between.
Yeah.
You know, 100%.
I think that's the biggest thing, is like you're going to be connected with a lot of guys anyway from the start, and I think that's the biggest thing, is you've got to understand it's not just me. So yeah, and then obviously drop us a message and we'll have a chat. This will probably go out today, mate, as in on YouTube, and it'll be out in Instagram on January. But I think January is obviously, I think a lot of people slate the new year, new me, but I think realistically, like, it's a good time to actually in your mind go, I'm going to start something, but start something where you know you're going to fucking be able to finish it. And I think a huge thing is like a program like this, you know, you've got the support, the community, the accountability, and let alone the fucking plan and the education that's very high. Yeah. That means that you've got a fucking full 90-day plus period. Because, you know, I think a lot of people mistake that this is just 90 days. Like, no, we continue to, you know, you've been on almost a year and a half now, which is brilliant. A lot of lads I've talked to in the last week have been on over a year. Because they just, and I'll be honest, like that in itself speaks volumes, because if they hadn't have, like you said, you wouldn't stay on if this was shit. you would be like, you know, you'd be like, well, I'm not really getting much education. I'm not, you know, obviously not, but mate, yeah, this has been brilliant. I'm gonna stop recording there. Like, it's been fantastic. Any lads who've listened to this, watch this back, obviously let us know how you know what your feeling is. And as I say, don't be that guy who sits behind the door cowering. Let us fucking grab you by the back, put a squeeze, and then fucking lob about 20 grenades in, and then go for it. But yeah, mate, brilliant. I should stop recording there. You're a legend, Liam. Thanks for that.
No worries.